Boker Tov, Hag Sameach. Tonight begins Yom Teruah. The renewed moon was not seen last night in Jerusalem, so it defaults to today. Today is September 15th, 2015. Yom Teruah begins tonight at sunset. So say Hag Sameach. What is Yom Teruah? It's kind of vague. Basically, people have different ideas. Basically, he says it's a commemoration of blowing the trumpets. It's a Yom Teruah. Is also called Rosh Hashanah. It's also the day of trumpets, or the Feast of Trumpets. But it is a day of shouting and blowing of the trumpets. So I'm a trumpet player. I also enjoy blowing the shofar, so this is an exciting day for me. What is Yom Teruah? It's a day to welcome the King. It's a day to welcome our Bridegroom, Messiah Yahushua. I'm going to put up some picture here from last year at the Jaffa Gate in Jerusalem, where myself, my mom, and Rivka, we were there. We sighted the new moon, Tishri 1, which starts tonight, back in September last year. And as you can see, there are flags. The Israeli flags are flying at the wall. However, we've found that a source from Jerusalem who's there now, she said that there's no flags flying right now like there was last year. So don't know if they're preparing for the announcement for the Palestinian state. We don't know why, but it's kind of unusual that there's no Israeli flags flying at the Jaffa Gate. Leviticus 23:24 says, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you have a rest, a remembrance, a blowing of trumpets, a set apart gathering." Now we know that the 7th month is also it's a completion. The number 7 is completion. It's also a commemoration of the day of rest, which is Shabbat. And so the joyful sound of entering into his rest, that is what we do tonight when we remember. It's a joyous time to enter into his rest that he has prepared, that he has commanded for his people, as a identification with him. To remember, that Hebrew word is zachar, or zakar. It is a continual reminder that we are waiting for our King and our Bridegroom. But it also indicates that war is imminent. We prepare to meet our Bridegroom, and this is actually in Exodus 19:10 and 11. It says, "And Yahuwah said to Moshe, Go to the people and set them apart today and tomorrow, and they shall wash their garments and shall be prepared by the 3rd day. For on the 3rd day Yahuwah shall come down upon Mount Sinai before the eyes of all the people." Now on the 3rd day we are represented or presented to the King by the bride's attendant Moshe. So after they prepared, they didn't come near their wives. They washed their garments. They set themselves apart to meet the King. And it says in Exodus 19:17, "And Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the foot of the mountain." Now, if that is not a picture of Moshe, who is the bride's attendant, bringing forth and here, I'm presenting you to the King, that's very exciting, because that's where we're at now. Okay, what does the word teruah mean? It means a shout or a blast of war, an alarm or joy. It means to make a noise, raise a shout, or raise a teruah to Yahuwah, all the earth. Sing to him with gladness. That's Psalm 100. Teruah means it is a sound that travels. It is a sound communicates a message, and it's interpreted by our ears. Sound goes beyond the sight of our physical sight. So we don't have to see, we can hear it from a long ways. His bride communicates the same message. So when we blow the shofar, it is a acclamation of joy to welcome the king and to welcome our bridegroom. And so with the message that the shofar carries is come, Yahushua, come. And it's a message that his bride from across the world knows. And they're very, very aware of this message. And that comes from Psalm 89:15, which I'll read in a moment. Teruah comes from the root word of teruah is ruah, a primitive root meaning to mar, especially by breaking. It actually means to split the ears with sound. Now we know that when the children of Israel were presented to Elohim, that on Mount Sinai, they were there to greet the king, and the king had a message to give them, which we know is the first giving of the Ten Commandments. Exodus 19:16, it says, and it came to be on the third day in the morning. The third day and the seventh day are actually, they parallel each other, and I can explain that later on in another message. Exodus 19:16, and it came to be on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the ram's horn was very, very, very loud, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. And then Exodus 19:19, and when the blast of the ram's horn sounded long and became louder and louder, Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by voice. Okay, I said earlier I wanted to read Psalm 89, verse 15, and if you have your Tehillim, it's a psalm book that I carry to the wall whenever I'm in Jerusalem. And by the way, I'm very sad that this is the first time in 4 years that I have not spent Yom Teruah in the land. So here I am in my office sharing Yom Teruah with you. So Psalm 89:16, praises to the people who know the Torah. Yahuwah, in the light of your countenance they walk. So we already talked about those that know the Torah, those that know the message. The bride knows the message. The message is, come, Yahushua, come. It says the light of your countenance. Countenance in the Hebrew is panim. It's actually plural for faces. It meaning to turn the face towards. So he shines upon us and he turns his face towards us, and that's a good thing. We don't want him turning his face away from us. The light of his countenance is his son Messiah Yahushua. Messiah is the esteem, as it says in Hebrews 1:3, who being the brightness, which actually in the Greek means the break of day, a ray of light. Messiah is Yahushua, who being the brightness of the esteem and the exact representation of his presence, his Father's presence, and sustaining all by the word of his power, having made a cleansing of our sins through himself, sat down at the right hand of the greatness on high. His light also is indicative of his favor. So, and what is his favor? His favor is that we walk in his favor. His favor is that we get to marry the king, his son. He's our bridegroom. So that's very exciting. We walk in his light. To walk in his light is to walk in the nature of Messiah. And when we do that, we will walk in Father's continual favor. So when we walk in the favor of Messiah, this is a time to shout. Because we have the king. We're marrying the king. So, and the king's father is the creator of the universe, and both of them together, the creators of the universe. And so that is a time, that is a memorial to shout. That is a time to blow the trumpets and blow the shofar, to remember, not only for us to remember, but to say, hey, your bride's here waiting. We're waiting for you. And it's to help. It's not to help him like he's forgotten that his bride's down here. It's our acclamation saying we are waiting, and that he has someone to come, someone that loves him and someone that wants him to come. And so with that, I leave you with Revelation 11:15. And the seventh messenger, this is the final blowing of the trumpet, that's going to bring the bowls of wrath down upon his enemies when Messiah returns. The seventh messenger sounded, and there came to be a loud voices, Teruah, the shout in the heavens, saying, the reign of this world has become the reign of our Master and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. So with that, I say Chag Sameach. Have a joyous Yom Teruah as we prepare to enter into the 10 days of awe. Search our hearts to examine ourselves and prepare for the Day of Atonement, where we examine and fall on our faces and make sure that there's not anything that's keeping us from being clean and having our garments washed white in preparation for the coming King and our Bridegroom. Shalom.